The following contains major spoilers for Into the Radius. Please finish the game before watching this report. Katya. The White Statue. The girl of the Radius and our guide through the fog. We see this young woman all around the Radius, showing herself to us to tell us about specific locations or about her former life before the 1987 Pachorsk event. So who is Katya? Is she a real person or just another entity created by the Radius? Hang on tight as we take a look into what we know about Katya.
You can see me? Hear me?
The first time we see Katya, she appears to us in the tutorial, explaining that we are the first explorer who she's been able to make communications with.
You can hear me.
After going through the tutorial, she gives us instructions to remain cautious and allow our memories to guide us. After we enter the Radius, she appears to us in a Russian outpost. She explains that what we saw was not actually her, but only an image of her. Her true self is trapped somewhere dark. She begs for us to find and help her. As we explore the Radius, we can find her at various locations. She will tell us about her family, people she knew, or about things that happened in the early days of the Radius. Over time, we learn a lot about Katya. Her father drove trucks for a living, while her mother was upper management at the factory. Her younger sister was a rebellious teenager, and Katya herself had hopes of becoming a teacher. While the main way she communicates with us is through her white statue form, she also uses notes from her diary to tell us about events in the days before the Radius. She slips these notes into our bag after we return from a top priority mission. Through the notes, we learn about what happened in the past, just before the Pachorsk event, and usually we see how our actions affected hers or those around her. On our final mission, we need to navigate our way through the castle. When we do, we find Katya, but she is not the same white statue as we've seen before. Now she is a burnt charcoal-like statue, just like the statues we find around the Radius. When we break the black version of Katya, she doesn't speak, but rather we understand her thoughts as if we can read her mind. We follow this version of Katya all the way through the ruin, all the way up to the top of the tower, where we find the Grail artifact. However, upon touching this final item, we are surrounded by many Katyas.
You just know you have to. Whoa! Whoa! Whoa!
In the chambers of the Grand Radius entity, we find Katya literally held prisoner. The Radius being explains that Katya was never real. She was just acting as bait to bring us to the Radius itself. However, the Radius also explains that we, as Explorer 61, are also not real. But if I'm honest, I don't buy that for a second. Due to the evidence I've gathered, I believe I've figured out just who and what Katya is. However, it is only a theory based on the evidence I have found around the zone. Feel free to take anything I say with a grain of salt. The overarching question is Katya real? Yes and no. At least I believe she was real. Katya was a real girl living in the town of Pachorsk, Russia, in the days before the event. She witnessed the events leading up to the birth of the exclusion zone. We know this from the papers that are slipped into our bags at the end of most top priority missions. The bright white paper almost jumps out at us whenever we get home. I believe these papers are from Katya's journal. As she saw and heard all the strange occurrences happening around the town, she would write about it in her personal diary. As we know from one of my previous reports, The warping of time and space plays a huge factor here. Katya witnessed events from our interference within our own timeline affecting hers. Eventually, she was able to see a pattern form and followed said pattern to the castle. There she was led by a light to the location where we found the Grail artifact. Katya also found something. She found the radius. Just like us, when we reached the top of the castle, she was snatched up by a bright light and taken by the radius itself. Katya was the first victim of the Pachorsk event. She wasn't just the first victim, but also the key to the radius itself. The radius needed Katya as a format to build the zone. It used her mind and her memories as the cornerstone for the zone. But why would the radius need a girl like Katya to build the zone? Think of the radius like an AI. Artificial intelligence requires something to learn from, copy, and use as a baseplate. AI cannot create new things from scratch or make new ideas. It must use a template to start from. The radius seems to work the same way. Now, I'm not saying that the radius is an AI, but rather that the radius seems to operate like one. They share similar practices, but nothing more. Katya was the template. Her memories were used to influence the way the radius formed itself. That's why, when Katya says, "Your memories will guide you," she is referring to the fact that the radius is built off of memories. Specifically, her memories. However, while the memories from Katya were absorbed into the radius, that is all it needed. Katya would not have survived the ascension into the radius. She, like all the others within the Pachorsk exclusion zone during the event, died when the fog overwhelmed the area. How do we know this? All around the radius, you can find black statues that take the rough form of people. Sometimes when you break these statues, they will speak, saying a short excerpt from something that was said long ago. These statues are real people, or rather, the memories of real people that lived in the area before the event. Most of the statues are nameless people frozen in place in their daily lives. However, if you make your way to the castle, you can find the statues of two girls climbing on the walls. Break the bottom one and it says this.
Wow, I can see the whole town from up here. Come on, Katya. Hold on to the rocks.
Katya?
I can't. This thing is wobbly. I'm scared.
This is no coincidence. This is a memory of Katya herself, playing with her friend or maybe her sister when they visited the castle. This is confirmation that Katya was real before the event took place. This version of Katya is younger, so it would have been a memory from years before the event. Plus, we know that many of the top priority missions have links to Katya in some way. Each note left in your bag explains how each mission ties to one of Katya's memories, be it taking something from her past or her hearing about it in an event that we triggered. So we know that Katya was real before the event, but what about after? What happened to her? Have you ever noticed that Katya is bright white? I know, stay with me. How many other things can you find that look like Katya? All the other statues look like they are made from ash, but not Katya. She looks to be made of clean porcelain. But she is not the only thing made from the white material. We can find 4 items that are made of the same white stuff. A toy bear, a teacup, a camera, and a flashlight. When you check the descriptions, they share a memory from which we can presume is Katya. They are parts of her memories that have leaked through the veil of the radius and took a physical form. You can now find these physical memories scattered around the zone. The papers we find in our bag at the end of the top priority missions are also made of this white stuff. The papers blare white compared to the other notes we find, and can only be placed there by Katya herself. There's also one more thing made of the white material: your dead body. When you die and locate your now very dead corpse, you can see that it's also the same as Katya. White and clean, but very dead. This makes me believe that Katya and the other explorers have more in common. The changed are created by the radius, and Katya herself is given physical form as well. But Katya's only role is to lead us through the zone, so she does not get a full body like the explorers. But when an explorer is killed, their body reverts back to the white version. So why is Katya here? Well, to put it simply, Katya is here to emotionally manipulate us into finding her. The radius wants the explorers to find their way all the way back to the heart of the radius. In the past, a lot of them did not make it all the way. Some died or did not bother to go all the way to the castle. Many explorers needed motivation to venture into the dangerous zone. So the radius made that motivation. The radius reformed Katya into how we see her now, using her memories. Katya does not even know this herself because she is just as lost as we are. The radius only gave her memories from when she was alive, not while she was absorbed into the radius. The version of her we see has no idea she's a fake, made from the mind and memories of a dead girl. When we come across her black form in the castle, this is the real Katya. This is the memory of the girl who found her way into the ruin and became the first victim of a supernatural disaster. That is why when we find her, her eyes are white, but the rest of her is black. She died in the castle, but part of her was taken by the radius. She was the key, the template, and the bait. Her memories formed the radius and became one with the consciousness that now waits, biding its time and luring more explorers to itself. All by using a poor, helpless girl, crying out into the fog.
Help me, please.
Well, that's my theory anyway. It's not perfect, and I'm sure I've missed some important details, but for now it makes the most sense given the evidence that we have. If you have other theories for the radius, drop them in the comments below. Your theories help me get ideas for other videos. Stay tuned for more lore to be dropping soon.